No, I don't think they do because unless all of a sudden I log into LinkedIn and I stop seeing the one-sided conversations where people are just bombarding my inbox,
Yeah.
that's dead. Consumers, either on the business or retail side, are getting more skeptical. They're doing their due diligence, they're researching, they're
Yeah.
protective of their assets and their money, and they want to be intentional with how they transact. You need to find a common point where they can clearly see how you are a value add-on. And if you're
Exactly.
not approaching with relationship first, I'm sorry, then you're just like, you're something that's off the shelf on the dollar store, and they don't want to shop there.
Hey guys, welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Your host here, Alessandro Cutri, joined today by none other than Norris Avaizian. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Nailed it.
Today's going to be an interesting episode, guys. We're going to be diving into a little bit about Norris' story, what they're currently building with Service Crucible, and some interesting insights that we're seeing within the marketing and overall business development space. So definitely make sure to stick around. But without further ado, I'll kind of just pass it on over to you, Norris. If you don't mind just introducing yourself and telling the audience a little bit about your background and then what ultimately led you to create Service Crucible.
Sure. I am, first of all, appreciate you having me on. Loved Trek, by the way. You guys have an awesome platform going, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. So, what got me into this? Well, I'm third generation trades, blue collar, you would say, welder fabricator, dad and grandpa before that. I've been in home services for about 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've held just about every position you can think of, from the ground up to senior executive positions, working on the PE side, even getting certified on the PE side as well.
Mm-hmm.
It came to a point where I just had this unshakable belief that I could do better than most others out there from a consulting, coaching, process development, and scaling services for home service companies.
Yeah.
It's an industry that I love, Alessandro, in the sense that amazing people work in this. It improves communities. When you teach a trade, that, in my opinion, is generational wealth, because you can be a plumber, welder, HVAC tech, electrician, just about anywhere in the world. But if these businesses improve in these communities and grow, we provide more jobs, we provide more futures and security for the younger folks in the communities.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I think it makes the places that we live a better place. However, this is where I felt that I could help the most. Most business owners do not have freedom, in the sense that they're working until they're 60, 70 years old. They're inefficient. Adapting to modern technology and finding the right help and scaling so they can pass off a legacy or exit is very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So my approach is basic fundamentals, blocking and tackling, mastering business operations, understanding your finances, mastering your CRM,
Yeah.
just building a powerful culture so this thing can be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. I love that. I think that that's, a very commendable, route that you've taken there. And I feel like home services companies are one of those, we'll say, typically like, family owned, or typically like, these a lot of blue collar who aren't maybe as business savvy, right? So it's
Yeah.
obviously it's great to have something like yourself, right? Be able to go in there and do the blocking and tackling. Well, how are you optimizing your operations, right? Because that stuff matters, right? As you continue to grow, and
Yes.
really just giving that time freedom back as well from a lot of these entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I love that. And so what got you into the home service space? I know you talked about it a little bit, but what was it that, like, I guess really, attracted you to be like, you know what, this is, I gotta help these people out.
It was a very, very lucky moment for me. Well, before home services, I was doing a lot of Army and DoD contracting as an electrician and welder fabricator. Um, Contracting with the government is very fickle, in the sense that you have a budget If you have a budget, great, people get jobs. There's budget cuts, there's a lot of layoffs. And I got tired of the up and down of that.
Hmm.
And so I thought to myself, what's good job security? And I got a hint from a relative of mine. He's like, Norris, you're a great guy. People like you, you listen well, you're technical. He's like, why don't you try out air conditioning? He's like, people need air conditioning. He's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
introduce you to a buddy of mine. I was like, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And he introduces me to the owner of Michael and Son Services. They're at least a 7 location, multi-state, $260 million top line operation. When I joined, they were close to the 100 million mark. And it was like joining a Super Bowl winning team,
Uh-huh.
having never played Pee Wee football.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were stars in my eyes. I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. So I was very lucky to join such a great organization from the get-go,
Yeah.
and didn't take but 2, 3 months into it where I fell in love with it. Going to people's homes, interacting with them, helping them find solutions, fixing their problems, earning their trust, turning them into lifetime customers. And then you benefit from that
Yeah.
financially. And it's also rewarding from a personal and professional standpoint too. And
Yeah.
you also see these kids that are 18, 19, 20 something year olds that go to trade school. They never knew this kind of stuff was possible. They make good
Yeah.
money if they do right by the customers and follow the process.
Yeah.
And it was game over for me then, Alessandro. I said this is it for me. Fast
Yeah.
forward 20 years, I'm
And
loving
then
it.
boom. I love it. I love it. So you've
Yeah.
obviously been a part of this industry now for a while. What are some of the trends that you're noticing, right? That are maybe appearing within the space?
That's a good one. So, trends is a lot of third party, obviously with the onset of AI solutions that will integrate into a lot of the major CRMs that are being used to run day-to-day operations. And
Hmm.
so everybody's standing on a platform, beating their chest, saying, we're the greatest thing that's ever happened since sliced ham to home services. Join up, join up, join up.
Hmm.
And you combine that with a lot of private equity activity in the industry,
Hmm.
especially over the last 10 years. There's been some landmark deals being made that have delivered 8 and 9 figure exits.
Yeah.
And and so now these business owners, like I was saying before, they're fatigued just running day in, day out. They can't even take a vacation. They can't be even gone for 2 days and not come back to a disaster.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, okay, I'm going to spend money on this solution. I'm going to spend money on this solution. I'm going to join this company and we're going to do this. And it's causing whiplash.
Yeah.
It's causing change fatigue amongst their workforce. And change management is a skill that is built. It's not something that you're born naturally with your team.
Yeah.
And that eventually causes turnover. So that's a lot of the trends that I'm seeing. But I think the dust is going to settle at some point,
Hmm.
and there's going to be better processes to follow as far as who the best solution is going to be,
Yeah.
and we'll start seeing it normalize. So yeah, those are some of the trends that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I guess one of the things that is becoming, when I talk with some folks about is that a lot of these, home service companies as well, and I'm curious to get your take on this, are looking to exit more and more, right? Because like a lot of the second generation isn't maybe taking over these businesses as previously, right? So they're looking more like for ways to kind of get out. I think it's called the it's like a name for it. I can't think of it right now, but there's a lot of people that are looking to sell their companies, right? Because a lot of the second generation isn't
Yep.
looking to take over. And so it's kind of just this new era that's coming in that sense. Is that something that you've noticed as well, or you're seeing on your end?
Yes, yes. There's a lot of first time to the industry with a business background, private consolidators that are leveraging SBA loans to get into their first asset in the portfolio, and
Yeah.
then leverage the positive cash flow that they're generating by increasing the efficiencies, and then getting continuation loans or using seller financing to add to their portfolio. And then once they're done consolidating and hit their mark, they will then transact with a larger portfolio that's most likely a formal general partner with at a PE firm that will just tuck it in and add to their EBITDA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I did want to segue a little bit, Norris, because, we obviously talk a lot about marketing and business development on the podcast. And, we're always curious to hear, like, what's either working for folks, what's kind of, something that you guys are doing. Obviously, at Service Crucible, I'm curious, like, what are some of the things that you guys have implemented that you've seen maybe some good success from when it comes to marketing, comes to either the business development side of things?
So, because I mostly deal with home service companies, obviously I would be considered B2B. So, and that's a completely different approach and mindset and relationship management, right?
Definitely.
Um, I believe what's been very, very helpful for me is without spending anything on advertising, I've just been able to leverage my network and get people to sign up into the program, buy into the annual commitments, and start implementing the solutions and services that we have.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And if there's any takeaway to be had from that is make every single relationship count,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you have to take ego out of the equation,
Yeah.
and you never know if you're going to dust off your phone book and call somebody that you haven't spoken to in 5 years, but they'll be
Yeah.
happy to hear your voice and help out because they're going to celebrate you like you celebrated them.
Yeah.
Um, I've also found that if it's a low volume niche B2B market, then PPC or paid advertising isn't really going to net you to the results or land you in front of the ideal client.
Yeah.
And so, um, increasing your authority, reputation, your subject matter expertise, and always leading with value to kind of amplify the reputation increase
Yeah.
is really going to give people the impression that you are service first. You are invested in their success. You're sending the message that their success means success for you, and you have your
Yeah.
priorities straight. And so,
Yeah. Yeah, I love
the
that.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money, man, right? When it comes to uh building those relationships is one of the things that we talk so much about over here at Edgar IT. It's so important, for folks to stop looking. Sometimes in the relationship based businesses, right, people will often look at, okay, how do I, generate more leads per se? Like what type of lead generation can I do? And it's like, well, yes, like leads, yes, so you should be thinking that perspective, but thinking more about how do I build more relationships with prospects, and then how do I actually provide them value, right? To your
yeah,
point, right? Like what am I doing that's providing these folks value so that they, first of all, they look at me and as an authority, and then second of all, there's more trust that's instantly built there, right? Because that's the reason why, typically referrals and your network, it works so well is because you have that layer of trust that's already built with those folks, right? And so it's easier to convert those into clients. But if you're going out to a cold market per se, or if you're going out to people that don't know you, and then you're trying to, just pitch them right away, or just trying to get to, land them, it's going to prove to be a lot harder in that sense, right? So to your point, you have to always be thinking about how can I provide value to folks, right? How can I, that's going to help me open the doors, and what am I going to be able to do that shows that I am a subject matter expert and I do know what I am talking about, right? And so I love that you bring that up. And I don't think enough people have that mindset when it comes to that.
no, I don't think they do because unless all of a sudden I log into LinkedIn and I stop seeing the one-sided conversations where people are just bombarding my inbox.
Yeah,
That's dead because consumers, either on the business or retail side, are getting more skeptical. They're doing their due diligence. They're researching. They're
yeah,
protective of their assets and their money, and they want to be intentional with how they transact. You need to find a common point where they can clearly see how you are a value add-on. And if you're
exactly.
not approaching with relationship first, I'm sorry, then you're just like you're something that's off the shelf on the dollar store, and they don't want to shop there.
Man, yeah, no, 100%. And you're so right, because what we've seen And I like to call it a trust recession, right? We're in a trust
Mm,
recession because we're seeing a lot of the times that buyers are more skeptical now than they ever have been, right? Just because of the social media and how, like, if you look at, just for example, we take something as simple as like email response rate from like 2020, right? The average email response rate was 10 to 15%. That means like, 10 to 15% of people were responding to cold emails that were coming inside of their
huh,
inbox. In
wow.
2025, it's 1.5%, right? So we've had this decline of of response rate from consumers in their inboxes, and not to mention, like, you look at a lot of these social platforms, right? To your point, my LinkedIn is filled with one-sided conversations inside my inbox, right? And it's because because of that, because of AI, because of automation, right? It's now more important than ever to figure out, because how are you possibly going to stand out in an inbox when someone's getting 15 emails a day, right? It's just like it's so much harder nowadays, right? So you have to always be figuring out, what can I do to, instead of try to sell someone, how can I instead build a relationship with that person, right? And that's why, like, people will say that networking events or trade shows or stuff like that work so well, for them specifically, because they're able to build those relationships with those folks, right? And
Yes.
so totally on board with that, man. And I did want to ask though, right? Because you obviously are, you're coming into this, you're a founder, you're building this company now, and for a lot of people, right, they have this fear of starting a company. Maybe they want to, they're qualified, they know they can, but they don't ever really make that jump into actually doing it.
Mm.
I guess, what would you say to those people that maybe helped you out, kind of like say, you know what, I'm gonna do my own business, and I'm gonna pave my own path. Like, what type of mindset's helped you with that?
Oh man, that's a great question. I was the worst example of that mindset.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very, very hyper analytical.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a ongoing joke. You've got to cut me off at some point, because, well, if we're talking business, all of a sudden I'm going to talk about salt and how that fueled the rapid expansion of the Roman Empire. So, um, and I say that because I was my own worst enemy when
Hmm.
it came to just crossing over that threshold and making the decision to finally start it. Um, I think people are naturally um, people are naturally predisposed to be unnecessarily hard on themselves.
Hmm.
And if you're hard on yourself, you don't see value in yourself.
Yeah.
If you're the one that doesn't see value in yourself, then no future potential prospect will ever see that value in you.
Mm.
Your belief in value and what you can do for somebody has to start from within yourself, not a product, not something that you can create. It's you.
Yeah.
You are the core, the beating heart of what is going to be success.
Yeah.
And so unless you have that belief and that self-value system, then
Mm.
no, you're not going to be ready. And instead of thinking about starting a business, why don't you start? You should work on yourself first. Be
Mm.
nice to yourself. Be realistic, but be nice.
Yeah.
And um, and I that's it all started with gratitude and mindset for me,
Mm.
and that shift allowed the crossing of the threshold to be exponentially easier. And you're a good way to get started on that is to go to the networking events, is to do a
Yeah.
tour, you know, the any industry, Alessandro, I don't care. Any industry is based
Hmm.
off of pure R&D, rob and duplicate. Okay.
Mm.
So there's a funny saying in the inner circles on my side. It's like, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to use it, give you credit once, and then I'm going to shamelessly steal it for myself. So,
Yeah.
um, but once that clicks, it's going to be very, very easy. And just don't overanalyze. Make sure you got your ducks in a row, but uh, MVP, minimal viable product, and you
Yeah.
just keep going.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. I think that's some great advice for people to take home. I think I have a very similar philosophy and mindset to that. And when it comes to building a business, and it comes to doing anything extraordinary, or going out there and trying to pave your own path, you got to have that belief, right? You have to
Yeah.
have that belief, because your vision that you have for what it is that you're building is not there, right? It's
Yes.
literally, it's just a vision, right? So it's just something. And that's why, like, visionaries are people that can see these things into the future, or they have these visions. They have to have so much belief within them to be able to walk that out and be like, I can't see it right now, it's not there, but I know that I'm going to be able to walk towards it and get towards it. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop me from it, right? And I
Nothing.
think
Yeah.
when you have that mindset, and I often think that that is ultimately, because skills you can develop along the way, right? Skills are something that people can learn to do. You learn how to do different things as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, and you're going to have to become proficient in a lot of different skills within the business, especially in the beginning, as you're starting, right? So
Man.
skills can be developed, though. What's even more important, to your point, is just like, what type of self-belief and mindset do you have coming into things, right? Because it's not going to be easy. And I always tell people, if you think that starting a business is easy and you're going to just get all these customers that come right out the gate, you have a very false perception of what it means to be a business owner. You're probably going to be struggling more than you are having success, right? That's typically what it is. And then all of a sudden there's this momentum that comes with it as well. So I love that you bring that up. And I think it's such a great point for people to realize. It's like, how do you work on yourself to be able to have that belief? Like, and I guess that's a question that I'm curious to get from you, right? Like, what can you do in terms of a practical sense to, build that self-belief, and so that you can step out and do something like that?
I think we as humans are incredibly fortunate. I mean, there's a 1 in almost 400 million chance that you are going to be the one that's going to be born, even if your parents, on the probability, were to ever meet in the first place. So if you find gratitude, saying that life in itself is a miracle that we live, that we're so lucky to be on this earth and we get to feel emotions, and embrace the suck. There's people that go through horrible, horrible things, but they're still able to give you a genuine smile. And so, to build that belief, it's and how do you prepare yourself and get to be, the authority and everything else, Alessandro? It's intention, right?
Mm,
It's what is the intention of anything that you're setting yourself out to do?
yeah.
Are you going to say it and say it to yourself, or are you going to actually do it and study the feedback, the environment, the results? And how are you going to continuously improve? I mean, football teams watch game tape.
Yeah.
The best salespeople practice in front of the mirror, or they record themselves.
Yeah.
Cold callers have made thousands of shots. I mean, Tiger Woods with his driving range practice, Jordan with the 1,000 shots, but the ones that make it count the most. But he learned the most from the ones that he missed.
Yeah.
So it's all around you. I mean, but you also remind me of the two of my top core values in my company, because during your path of self, discovery and kind of getting to that decision making matrix, what is your MVV? What is your mission, vision, and values?
Hmm. Hmm.
A truly thought out one will take you months. Most companies in Fortune 500 took months or years to come up with their MVV. And
Yeah.
so the two of my top core values are Greek words. My wife is Greek. I'm Armenian by heritage. And
Mm,
I get emotional every time I read the definition of these words, but I mean, you got to find your core values, man. The two values for me is meraki and philotimo. And I don't know if you want me to read them or not, but they're
please.
powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure. Meraki is it it describes putting your soul, your creativity, and your love into something that you do. It
Mm,
implies doing something with great care and devotion, leaving a piece of yourself in your work. Whether it's cooking, working, designing, writing, it embodies the passion of wholehearted effort behind any endeavor. That's
mm,
Meraki. There, find
man,
me a more beautiful word, you know?
I'm gonna steal that
Uh,
from you.
go for it. I hope you do.
Yeah.
And, and philotimo it's even more difficult to translate, but the best that I was able to do with it is it represents a sense of honor, duty, and pride in doing what is right, often driven by love and respect for others. It encompasses virtues like generosity, humility, and a commitment to ethical values,
Mm,
tied to a deep sense of community and selflessness. It's about acting with integrity and being motivated by a higher sense of purpose.
mm.
Your
Wow.
mission, vision, and values are going to be the endless fuel source that's going to grow your company, where all of a sudden you wake up in the future and you see 30 or 300 people instead of just yourself in your office.
Yeah, man. Wow, powerful stuff, dude. Powerful stuff. I don't think I could agree more with you on both of those. And those uh, something that I think is so important that I mean, you said so many great things there that I want to touch on. Even when it comes to what you were first talking about when it comes to like self-confidence. The word confidence means to have faith in or to believe in, right? And how do you like believe in yourself, right? You do the things that you say you're going to do, even the things that you say to yourself that you're going to do,
Mm,
right? That is the most important part of it, because if you're telling yourself things that you're going to do and then you're not doing those things, how are you possibly going to have self-confidence in yourself, right? So it all starts with the action that you're taking and the things that you're doing, to start to build that self-confidence and developing. People have all these things that they want to do, but they never actually go and do them. And it's the reason why they have these low levels of self-confidence, right? That comes with it. And so I think that that's a big part to what you were talking about earlier. And then the second piece is like your business, I often think is a reflection of who you are, right? It should be like that is the idea of building a business and building a good business and building a business that doesn't operate, like that has multiple people within it, right? First, when you first start a business, it's you, right? You are the business. And then as you build and you grow, you want the business to become a reflection of you and to have those values and the vision that you have, like you said. I mean, we've been in business for 3 years. I don't think we've really established like something like that, right? In terms of what you're saying, but it makes so much sense, right? It's something that I've always thought about, and maybe not have expressed in the way that you have, but I love those. I love those two things, and I think that's something that's so important for people to take as they do business, right? Because it's one thing to be. I think one of the things that I always try to, emulate is like, ethics, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, is the best thing that like, because a lot of times, in sales and business, people will try to sell something or try to do something with a client that they're just trying to make money from them, right? They're not thinking about, is this the best thing for them? And for me, like I've turned away so much business from people that I'm like, hey, I don't think I can help you. There's probably a better person for you, right? And I think that is the mindset that helps you build a business that you can actually be proud of, right? And that you can
mm,
have that honor in, where it's like, it's not just the money, right? I'm not, of course I want to make money, but I'm not making money just, off of the client's backs, but I'm making money because I'm providing value to folks. And they're like, man, you should be making this money because you're making it for us. Right. So
yeah.
that's my mindset when it comes to that. And I think we have a lot of alignment there, but I think, I hope people can take that away, that that's how you build a business that you are proud of. Right. And that you do have that pride in.
Oh my gosh, Alessandro, okay, that could resonated so, so powerfully with me. And you actually bring up some really, really good key points that for aspiring founders or even operators that are in infancy stage. Um, so a part of what you said is, just a transaction or relationship. a very, very powerful metric, a KPI that a lot of firms measure on the private equity side when, let's say, if they want to partner up with you or they want to invest or if they want to buy you out is LTV, lifetime value.
Yeah.
Lifetime value is directly connected to your mission, vision, values, but your operating playbook and how you are going to maintain the customer experience and create a proof of concept of what exactly the lifetime value of your average customer is. How many more times do they come back to you? If you have a product that's a one-time transaction and or a service that's a one-time service that they don't need
Mm,
once about every 5 years. So you spent all of that marketing money, all of that
yeah.
time, all of that effort to get a one-time transaction.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable. And
Yeah.
so, when you reach a growth plateau, like you're doing great and you have these transient products or services, you have to identify something that is interconnected to your product or service that you can launch as a secondary um, monetary vertical. So
Yeah.
you can kind of increase the touch points that you have with your customer because you've already won their trust. You've already
Yeah.
transacted with them. How
Yeah.
do you make them come back? Um, and then that ties into a question of the decision-making process at like the executive level. When a manager comes to me, a direct report comes to me, and they're like, "Hey, Norris, I really think we should do X, Y, and Z. This is going to help us out. I think it's a great idea. I say, great, let's do it. Um, I just want to ask you the question. The ones that know me, they're like, okay, here it comes. But then they start getting it. Is it is it repeatable? Is it scalable? And is it sustainable? And does it make
Mhm.
financial sense?
Yeah.
And you got to ask yourself those questions. So LTV, repeatable, scalable, sustainable, and
Yeah.
does it make financial sense? And tie it all into everything we talked about. Sorry, I had to share
No, that's awesome stuff, man. And I feel like we could probably go on for hours
that. Yeah,
on this topic itself, man. But I think there's a lot of value there for people to take away. Norris, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure getting the chance to pick your brain a little bit, hear a little bit more about your
thank
philosophies
you.
and what you guys are doing at Service Crucible. Definitely a big fan. People are listening to this. They're like, hey, man, how do I reach out to you? How do I get in contact with you? What are the best ways to go ahead and do that?
Sure. You go to servicecrucible.com, click around the website. You can go into the pricing page. I'm not 100% dedicated to just home services. So if you are a B2C business and you're looking at ways to scale, one of the best proof of concept of operational excellence that's been cataloged and optimized is the home services industry. Pest control, house cleaning, garage doors, roofing,
Hmm.
nanny dog sitting services are now taking pages out of the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical playbook, which is my playground. And but if something is interesting to you, please, there's a bunch of booking links on the site, and would love to have a chat.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure to include that in the description for people to go check out. If you guys are listening to this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and go check out Norris and the team over at Service Crucible. They are Grow IT endorsed over here. But thanks again, Norris. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. We'll
Thank you.
definitely have to have you on the show again.
We'll look forward to it. Appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
Of course.